Step 3 to a successful bootstrapped business is to establish your distribution. Distribution means building an audience. Distribution means collecting people who are going to pay attention to what it is that you have to say, what it is that you have to sell, and what it is that you're offering. Now, distribution is a very broad term, isn't it? That can mean anything. And there is a hierarchy of distribution. And all roads are always going to lead back to collecting email addresses. So let me explain this to you, and let me give you an example. When I first started my online business, I started a website called SoberNation.com. A lot of people know my story. I've been sober for some time, and I built a website that helps other people who are struggling with drugs and alcohol to find support and resources for addiction. And so I had my cash flow set up. I was still working at a sales job, and I was building my website when I went home. I would sit up all night in my apartment and write blog posts and grow my brand. So my cash flow was adequate. However, I was writing and creating content to build distribution. So at that time, Facebook was the most popular social network by far. I had a little bit of Twitter, and there was a couple other ones that I would experiment on. So I would post my content onto social media, and I would funnel that content back to my website. And this is what's really, really important. Whether you like to write long form blog posts like I do and do SEO, or you just want to have like a 1 or 2 page landing page website that people can go to when they see your social media profile, and maybe they click on the link in your profile to go back to your website. That's not as important as understanding that your social media attention, your YouTube attention, your Instagram attention, all of those social media accounts, you don't actually own those accounts. You don't own those audiences. So let's say you have a really big following on Facebook, and then next week, Mark Zuckerberg puts out a press release and he says, hey, we're updating our algorithm, and like all of your followers are gone. Basically, I know that sounds drastic, but it's happened many, many times. Same thing can happen on YouTube, right? Maybe you have a really big YouTube audience and they update the algorithm on how, when people search on YouTube, what the results show up. And so maybe your videos were getting hundreds of thousands, maybe 100,000 views, and now all of a sudden you're not getting anything because your videos aren't showing up in search anymore. That's also very, very possible. So social media is great, and I'm an advocate for social media. If you're growing your company, be active on social. Make videos, teach people, allow people to follow on your journey, document what it is that you're working on, document what it is that you're learning. All of that stuff is really great, but make sure you have at the very least a 1-page website where people can sign up for your email list and they can submit their email list to you. And here's why. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that you really will ever own on the internet is your email list. It's yours. You can take it with you wherever you go. If Facebook changes their algorithm, you still have your email list. If YouTube changes their algorithm, or if Instagram sells to another company and it all gets changed, then you're still safe because you can take your email list with you. And what happens is, like, as new social networks and new mediums and mechanisms to generate attention, as that all changes, like TikTok is really big now, and so as new ones come and old ones go, that's all fine, because no matter what you do, no matter what new platforms show up, you still are able to generate all of that traffic back to your email list. And so you actually get to own your channel of distribution. Okay, so that's the tactic. Now let's talk about what to do with it and why it's so important. There's a phrase called attention is the asset. And it's true. Money and exchange of services and transactions, all of those things are predicated on somebody knowing about you, somebody knowing about your service, somebody knowing about your product, and somebody knowing about your ideas. So the word distribution really can be translated to like owned attention. When you have something to say, you need to have a mechanism to distribute this idea to a large amount of people. And so as you build your distribution, as your company grows, as you get more clients, maybe your brand is growing and you're getting some social media posts that are getting really popular, maybe some blog posts that are getting popular. As your distribution is growing, your options are going to grow because now you're talking to more and more people. And so as you have a distribution, you have choices and you can adjust with what you want to do. Okay, so a quick recap on where we are so far throughout this whole course. We learned a skill. So we brought a skill to the marketplace. We established cash flow to give ourselves some breathing room so that as we take on clients, as we grow our product, whatever business it is that we're building, we have options. And we can use those options to make the right decisions. We're never pressured to make a decision because we need the money. That's what we want to avoid. And now we're building a distribution network. And so your skill, your options, and your audience is growing in tandem with each other. So if you continue to follow this process, especially if you're doing client service work like I recommended, it'll be a year into it. And now suddenly you have a list of, let's call it 10 or 20 happy clients that are sending you referrals. They're telling their friends about you. They're telling their friends about your work. You're growing on social media. You got a couple thousand followers here, a couple thousand followers there, and you're building an email list. And now you have an email list of, let's say 6,000 people, right? Well, that's 6,000 opportunities to get a new client, to sell a new product. And so the whole entire thing compounds on itself because the bigger you get, the bigger you get. And the more of distribution you have, then the more chances there are of the people you're distributing your ideas to can tell their friends, which means that the more distribution you get. So you see how the whole thing kind of snowballs. It's like a snowball rolling downhill, and the bigger it gets, then the bigger it gets. And this is what you want to do. This is what you want to achieve over years of putting your ideas out there and generating content and building distribution. Because if you have distribution, you have many, many options. And that's what we want to give ourselves the best chances of success in the future.